Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Surprise Jab Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Ruger, spicy with new topics every single week and jabbing you with your daily dose of UFC. And we have a massive UFC event this weekend. UFC Abu Dhabi live on ABC, main evented by Robert Whittaker and Rainer Day Ritter. Massive main event. I'm very excited for this entire card. Overall, loaded with ranked fighters. We're going to be covering every single matchup, dropping our predictions and our thoughts on what will go down on the card. Also, going to be looking at the current rankings updates and some new UFC fights. We have a lot of UFC fight updates that we're going to be diving into to kick off today's episode. But yeah, all UFC on today's episode. I was debating doing some more SummerSlam talk, but I'm going to let it play out another week, and then we can talk about some new matches that have been added, because they have added an Intercontinental Championship match. They're probably going to add a tag team match. That's going to be going down in 2 weeks. But yes, August coming up quickly, guys. We have 1 week left in July, and July's been a pretty good month. I'd say every single month is a good month in my life, whether I deal with troubles or not. I always just try and look for the brighter side in things. But I say we waste no more time. I'm very much looking excited to UFC Abu Dhabi, as we are 192 and 98 on predictions for the year. So if I go +6 on predictions, we'll finally be plus 100. This is, to date, in my 5 years of annual picking, my best year of predictions I've ever made. I've actually gotten better year over year over year. We're just continuing to level up. But let's not waste any time, because we have a ton of new UFC fights to bring to your guys' attention. So in no particular order, but I will save the big 4 for last. So kicking us off, we have a new matchup for UFC Vegas 108, as tragically Torres Finney has pulled out of his contest with Azamat Bekov, and Azamat will instead be taking on Yusri Belgori. Yeah, very sad. Torres Finney versus Azamat Bekov was going to be one of the biggest meme fights of all time. It was just some comedic fan matchmaking, if you will, in the UFC. It was like, let's just make it happen. Azamat is 20-3, which with I think 17 finishes or something ridiculous. He's knocked out Ryan Loder and Zachary Reese in round 1 through his first 2 UFC fights. Dude has been an absolute killer. As for Yusri Belgori, dude's got 0-2 on the Contender Series. I'm actually a little confused how he's even getting a shot in the UFC, but this should be teed up for another Azamat round 1 knockout. And then let's just rebook that Torres Finney fight, because that is going to be super funny when it happens. Another matchup, this one for UFC 321, going down in Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates. That's right, Abu Dhabi getting multiple trips this year, as Azat Maksum back in action as he takes on Mitch Raposo. Mitch Raposo making a quick little turnaround after losing to someone. He lost to someone last time. I can't even remember. But I know for Azat Maksum, he recently lost to Tagir Ulanbekov. And his fights against Charles Johnson, Tagir Ulanbekov, both high level, both so close. Dude is 17-2. He's 1-2 in the UFC. Do not judge him by that. He should run through Mitch Raposo and be right back in the running for a ranked opportunity. Here's one for you. UFC Perth going down September 27th. Navajo Sterling 7-0, back, the undefeated man from New Zealand, who holds wins over Ivan Erslan and Tuco Tucos, is looking to pick up a win over Rodolfo Bellato. Rodolfo Bellato 1-0 with a loss and a no contest. If you actually, not even lost, a draw in a no contest. He knocked out Ayor Portera, then he had a draw against, Jimmy Crute, and then the no contest against Paul Craig. He's had just the most random run I've seen so far, but this is a high-level contest between unranked light heavyweights. I mean, this is something I could see where the winner is getting a ranked opportunity, but right now they're both still young in their UFC journeys. I'll be very curious to see who I elect to go with in like 2 or 3 months whenever this goes down, because I am just, pretty high on both of them. So we'll see if it can survive till then, but that is a very high-level contest. Also on that UFC Perth card, going down September 27th, bantamweight action as Colby Thickney is looking to bounce back after his professional defeat as he takes on Josias Musasu, who was also looking to bounce back. Colby Thickney's unfortunately had to take on Alexander Topuria, the younger brother or older brother, I think it's the older brother actually, of Ia Topuria, and just was manhandled by him, just never stood a chance. And as for Josias Musasu, was a massive favorite against, I know he's Colombian, or maybe he's Ecuadorian, I have No idea. I cannot remember his name. That's just how irrelevant the guy he was fighting is. He was actually on The Ultimate Fighter. But dude is just so average. So average, and somehow Josiah's lost to him. So both guys looking to bounce back. Perfect time to do that is in Perth. Still on that Perth card, tons of updates. Women's strawweight action as the number 14th ranked Loma Luke Boonmi, 7-2. And the UFC actually holds a win over Denise Gomez, of all people. Welcomes Alexandra Tanera. Whoever she is, destroyed Molly McCann. Actually retired Molly McCann. So it's how bad of a victory she suffered, or how bad of a defeat she handed Molly McCann. 12-1 against the 10-3 Loma Luke Boonmi, whose actual name is Sufusura Konayak. It says Loma Luke Boonmi in quotations, but that's her actual listed name. I don't know what that means, but this should be a high-level contest. Good fight in Perth. That Perth card is being loaded up with fights, and I absolutely love it. UFC Vancouver going down October 18th has a middleweight matchup between Danny Barlow, who's actually moving up in weight after suffering his first professional defeat, to take on Jordan Santos. Did Jordan Santos lost his UFC debut? I recall the name, but I don't recall who he fought. However, I think Danny Barlow should handsomely win this, but with how bad his chin looked against Sam Patterson, I don't know how it's going to go. That one's going down in Vancouver. I'll be excited when we go to Vancouver. That's going to be a fantastic card to watch. September 13th has a middleweight matchup on UFC Noche in San Antonio, Texas, as Jose Medina is back after being absolutely ran through by Teba Gaudier to take on the 3-6 in the UFC, 12-6 professionally, Dusko Todorovic. Who keeps giving Dusko Todorovic shots? Who keeps giving Dusko Todorovic these opportunities? I have no idea. Somehow, Dusko holds a win over Michel Pereira. Did you know that? Before he came to the UFC, he held a win over Michel Pereira. Unreal. I don't know how that was allowed to happen. But yeah, that matchup is going down, and oh my gosh, I don't even know who to pick. They both are absolute buns, absolutely terrible. I just hope it's entertaining. UFC Rio de Janeiro, October 11th, heavyweight action. Hanada Diaz back in action following his victory over Alvin Guzzi Hines, as he takes on Mario Pinto. Mario Pinto 10-0, 1-0 in the UFC, had one of the best comebacks of the year, might be in running for comeback of the year against, Austin Lane. Both of these guys have actually knocked out Austin Lane comedically enough. Mario, absolutely excellent knockout. Mario was actually called out by a Walter Walker, of all people. So I think if Mario wins, he should fight Walter Walker. And if Hanada Diaz wins, he should fight, I don't even know, Muhammad Usman beats me. But yeah, let's just keep doing heavyweight fights until one of them ends up being a banger. At some point, they have to give us a good heavyweight contender to actually throw, because Tom Aspinall is just running through everyone. UFC Perth, another matchup. Luiana Carolina back in the women's bantamweight division as she welcomes the debuting Michelle the Wild One Montague. She is from New Zealand. She is 33 years old, and she's probably going to absolutely murk Luiana Carolina. I'm excited for it. She's coming actually over from the PFL, oddly, trains the American Top Team. Some exciting stuff overall. Luiana Carolina, I can't remember if she's coming off a win, but she does hold wins over Priscilla Castreta and Lupi Godinez. Two very excellent women, both getting high-level fights in their next appearances. Here's one for you. Tatiana Suarez and Amanda Lemos going at it in the women's strawweight division. Tatiana 10-1, suffered her first professional defeat, losing to Zhang Weili earlier this year. She's currently ranked number 2. She's taking on Amanda Lemos, who most recently beat Yasmin Lucindo. She's ranked number 4. Both of these women have lost to the champ. Both of these women are looking to get back to the champ. They're easily 2 fights away. If you're asking me, I don't know if we're going to get the same version of Tatiana Suarez. I might lean Amanda Lemos, but we'll have to see. It could still be potentially good. UFC 320, October 4th. We're going to get to the main event and some other stuff in just a second. But Edmund, the Golden Boy Shabazian, back in action. Who are they having him fight? Andre Muniz. Yes, son of a gun. We're having him fight another grappler. Andre Muniz. Don't even remember the last time I saw Andre Muniz do something. I think Ikram Kasernov was knocking him out. If I'm not mistaken. Actually, I do remember Ikram Kasernov knocking him out with like a second left in round 1. Edmund, Andre, I love it. Should be on the prelims of 320. Exciting stuff. And now let us get to the big four matchups. So first up, let's start with UFC 320. On the main card of UFC 320, probably going to be the third to last fight of the evening. The number 2 ranked light heavyweight on the planet, Jiri Prochazka, takes on the number 4 ranked Khalil Roundtree Jr. Wow. Very surprised. I don't know what they're going to do with Carlos Ulberg. We're going to look at the rankings in a second, try and come up with something. But Jiri versus Khalil, I love it. I absolutely love this. Khalil Roundtree coming off that massive domination of Jamal Hill. That's for Jiri Prochazka coming off a fight of the night against Jamal Hill, So I think Jiri's performance was much better, but that's just my personal preference. This one should be absolutely fantastic. I have no idea what to expect. I know how hard Khalil Roundtree hits. But, I mean, Jiri's right up there with Alex Pereira for the type of competition Khalil's faced before. Both men are looking to get back to a title shot. This is exactly how you do it. Jiri Khalil, feed me it. The co-main event of UFC 320, the bantamweight champion Merab is back for not his first defense, not his second, but his third defense of 2025 as he takes on the number 4 ranked Corey the Sandman Sandhagen. Corey's coming off a win over Davison Figueiredo. Yes, Corey Sandhagen, after so long, 5-6 years you could even say, is finally getting his deserved title shot. I love it. And as for Merab, he's continuing his reign of terror, if you will. Dude's on a 13-fight winning streak. If he wins this, give him Fighter of the Year. Give him Fight of the Year, and I'm going to be honest, my money is on him beating Corey here, Petr Yan beating Marcus McGee, and not to spoil my prediction, and Merab getting a 4th title defense in December. Merab, Fight of the Year, dude, insane. Now I will say that Corey Sandhagen has a chance, or he has a striking chance here. He is kind of a Sean O'Malley build, and judging on how Umar beat him, you can kind of tell how he's going to fight and how Merab can beat him, but I do think Corey Sandhagen can prove to be a bit of a competition. But yes, Merab back for his 3rd title defense, October 4th, UFC 320 in Las Vegas. And the main event going down on that card, UFC 320, the rematch, Magomed Ankalaev and the number 1 ranked light heavyweight, Alex Poatan Pereira. Yes, they've decided to run this back, and I don't really know what to expect. I don't know if Alex Pereira is going to do something different here, be a bit more offensive. Will Magomed mix in the grappling? I don't know, but Magomed Ankalaev is on a official 12-fight winning streak, 14-fight unbeaten streak, and is 21-1 professionally, wins 2 losses. Dude is an absolute killer. Alex Pereira 12-3, 9-2 in the UFC. I don't know. I don't really know. My money's on Magomed Ankalaev. I think Magomed might get a finish, but all the Alex Pereira fans are going to be coming out for this one and rooting for him. But yes, that is your UFC 320 main event, co-main event, and another amazing fight on the card. And your last official new fight to discuss, UFC 321, October 25th in Abu Dhabi, the main event, the heavyweight championship, Tom Aspinall versus Ciryl Gane. Yes, absolutely. Ciryl Gane, somehow 10-2 in the UFC, who, by the way, he debuted 3-0. Into the UFC, in his MMA career. Now he's 10-2. Very impressive. Now Ciryl is currently 0-2 in title opportunities, and mind you, he's had to face Francis Ngannou and John Bones Jones. Right now, Ciryl Gane has been averaging basically a fight, title shot, fight, and now he's getting another title shot. I find that absolutely hilarious. I'm easily predicting Tom Aspinall to run through him. I think he's going to mix in a takedown this time, or even go out and clip Ciryl Gane right off the bat. But I think Ciryl Gane proves a tough competition for Tom Aspinall, and easily, of all the opponents that he's faced, this is the toughest opponent to date. So that's what you're supposed to do for Tom Aspinall. Just keep fighting upwards and upwards. But yes, Tom Aspinall, Ciryl Gane is official. No words on the UFC 319 co-main event. I think I might have some thoughts on that in a second. And as for the rest of heavyweight, we already know Volkov versus Almeida is going down on the same event. So I think you can kind of presume Jiri versus Khalil, winners getting a light heavyweight shot, Volkov versus Almeida getting a heavyweight shot. They're matchmaking both of those massive events with top 5 heavyweights and light heavyweights under the same championship matches they are taking place under. If you get what I'm kind of saying, I've kind of said that confusingly, but those are all your new UFC fights. A lot of them. I love them. Dana White, you are doing a wonderful job of making fights. But with that, let's get into the updated UFC rankings. We have had some updated UFC rankings and some big shifts did take place, and we're just going to discuss what is going to be next for the division. So first up, women's bantamweight, women's flyweight, women's strawweight, women's pound for pound, no changes, and also no real updates. I mean, Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos is quite honestly the biggest fight news we've had in terms of any women's division. No word on if Kayla and Amanda Nunes are fighting in November, December, January. No word on Zhang Weili and Valentina Shevchenko getting a second fight in 2025. The women's divisions are kind of dead right now. I can't lie, the women's divisions are very dead, especially when it comes to women's main events. They've been trying to move away from them, and it's been kind of good. I hate to say that, but yeah, no news in the women's divisions at all. Men's heavyweight, well, we can do a little matchmaking here. Tom Aspinall taking on Cyril Gane, Alexander Volkov taking on Halton Almeida, and Sergey Pavlovich taking on Waldo Cortez Acosta leaves Curtis Blades without an opponent. Derek Lewis coming off a massive knockout win, a little two-fight knockout streak. I think Derek Lewis and Curtis Blades is the next heavyweight main event you need to make. Let's do it in November, do it in December. I think that is a perfect matchup to make. Now, as for the rest of the gentlemen, you're going to need to move some people upwards. You're going to need to keep trying to break contenders into the rankings. Now, we're going to talk about some guy on this card called Marcus Buchera. Marcus Buchera is taking on Martin Buday. If Marcus wins his fight against Martin Buday, I think he should fight Marcin Tybura. As for the man who most recently lost to Curtis Blades, Rizvan Kuniev, I think he should take on Sergey Spivak. I say we keep trying to break guys into the top 15 at heavyweight. That's what you need to do. But no real updates right now. That we do have a big heavyweight fight on this card, but I'm just happy the division's moving along, and Tom Aspinall wants to have 3 to 4 title defenses per year. Dude's an absolute beauty. Moving on to light heavyweight, where no official changes have taken place, but Carlos Ulberg is kind of the odd man out here. I know we have Alexander Rakic versus Azamat Murzakanov going down, Nikita Krylov versus Bogdan Guskov we're going to mention on today's episode, but are we going to do Carlos versus Dominic Reyes or something? Are we going to do... I don't really know what we're going to do with Carlos Ulberg, to be honest. As for Jan Blachowicz, Jamal Hill, they're going to be fighting Dominic Reyes or probably, Zhang McYoung if he beats Johnny Walker in August. But light heavyweight, we have some movement there, and I'm happy with it. Happy we're doing that. I would have preferred Alex Pereira versus Tom and Carlos Ulberg getting a title shot or even Jerry get a title shot, but hey, I can't be building the fantasy matchups right here, right now. Middleweight division, Brandon Allen moves up to number 10 as Marvin Vettori drops down to number 11. Paulo Costa moves up 2 spots and is now tied with Marvin at 11. Reinier de Ridder drops down to 13 before his matchup with Robert Whittaker, which we will talk about on today's episode. Albus Magomedov up to 14 and Roman Kopylov down to 15. So yeah, Brendan Allen getting a win here. I think that if Robert Whittaker loses, Whittaker versus Allen could be a potential matchup you make. If Izzy wants to come back, Izzy versus Brendan Allen could be a matchup. Brendan Allen versus Jared Cannonier, win or lose, is something you can do. The loser of Darzinho and Cabral, especially if it's Cabral, could be Brendan Allen. Brendan Allen has a lot of opportunities, and all of them are in the top 10, which is very good for him. As for Marvin Vettori, it's back to the drawing board, okay? I'm thinking names like Ikram Alkaserov. I'm thinking Abus Magomedov. Guys like that. I'd even throw in Gregory Rodriguez. Marvin Vettori is going to need to do something. He apologized. He acknowledged that to his fans that, what he was doing wasn't enough. He's going to need to work on that. As for Paulo, I mean, you hate to admit it, Paulo Costa is a guy who just needed one win, and he's back in the mix. I would love to see a Jared Cannonier fight. I would love to see a Israel Adesanya rematch. I would love to see if Hamza Chimaev does lose to DDP. Let's just make Hamza versus Paulo, okay? Let's not act like Paulo Costa isn't very entertaining, and how he performed against Roman Kopylov, he appears to be back. Reinier de Ridder, of course, will be fighting in the main event this weekend. Abus Magomedov, no real news on him, but him versus Marvin Vettori, I could definitely get behind. As for Roman Kopylov, I saw someone say he should fight Bo Nickel. That could be a potential opponent, but I'm thinking more of like our Ikram Alkaserovs of the world. He's someone I'm super high on, and I think he can break into the rankings. That's what I want to do next. Dropping down to welterweight, Daniel Rodriguez is now in at 14 as we just straight up kick Kevin Holland from the rankings. Yeah, Daniel Rodriguez, good for you. 3-fight winning streak. Let's reward him. How about a fight with Colby Covington? How about a fight with Gilbert Burns? How about a fight with, I don't even know, Gabriel Bonfim? good for you, Daniel Rodriguez. Jeff Neal moves up to 10, and Gilbert Burns drops down to 11 as well. Jeff Neal has a fight with Carlos Prates coming up here in about a month, and Gilbert Burns, I'm thinking, is debating retirement at this rate. But I would love to see Gabriel Bonfim at 13 take on Gilbert Burns. I don't know if they train at the same gym, but we just saw Gabriel struggle with Wonderboy Thompson. I would love to see him take on Gilbert Burns, and I think of all the prospects we've been having Gilbert Burns fight, JDM, Michael Morales, Gabriel Bonfim would be a great opportunity for him. So, welterweight division continues to move along. Lightweight division, this is where big changes are taking place. Max Holloway is now up to number 4 in the men's lightweight rankings, passing Justin Gaethje, who drops down to 5. Makes sense. Makes complete sense. And honestly, I have Max up there at number 3. Could be awesome. We should probably boot Islam from the rankings. But with the announcement of Tom Aspinall versus Cyril Gane, you can now assume that JDM versus Islam cannot happen until what's it called? What goes down every year, November 3rd, the big pay-per-view on Madison Square Garden. You can assume that Islam versus JDM is going to be going down in Madison Square Garden, New York. So I don't really know what we're going to do with that, but on standby until then. As for Ito Pura, will he fight Max Holloway? Will he fight Arman Tsarukyan? It's tough to say. I would rather see Max Holloway fight Charles Oliveira at 3 and just give Arman Tsarukyan a title shot than see Ito Pura. That's just me. Justin Gaethje at 5. I think everyone is guessing that the number 9 ranked Paddy Pimblett now will be taking on Justin Gaethje, but we're going to have to wait in the wings to see if that's the UFC 319 co-main event. Dana is still waiting on that. By the way, that card goes down August 16th. I am recording this podcast on July 23rd. We are under a month away and don't have a co-main event for UFC 319. Dan Hooker up to number 6. I mean, for Dan Hooker, he could also fight Max Holloway. He can fight Charles Oliveira. He can fight Arman Tsarukyan. So many options. Mateusz Gamrot at 7. I presume Mateusz will fight down again. Maybe against the... I have no idea. Honestly, I don't know. But everyone kind of gets a boot upwards. Joel Alvarez has now debuted in the rankings at 15. Even though people said he was going to move up to welterweight, I guess he's not going to do that. I don't know. A lot of uncertainty at lightweight, which I don't really like, and certainly the gap between the top 5 people in the rest of the division are pretty drastic. But Dustin Poirier, no longer in the rankings. Thank you for all you've done, Dustin. Man, you gave us an excellent career. Back down to featherweight as Patricio Pitbull debuts in the rankings at number 11, following his win over Dan Ige. They boot Dan 3 spots down to number 14. You can think that Dan Ige is going to be fighting an unranked contender, your Chepe Mariscals, your Nathaniel Woods, guys like that. That's what we're going to do. And as for Patricio Pitbull, I saw a good case that Pitbull is not going to be fighting up-and-comers. They're only going to give him big, names. So you have Josh Emmett versus Aljamain Sterling fighting. I think winner or loser of that is a fight for Patricio Pitbull, as well as someone like Arnold Allen, someone like, you could even say, Josh Emmett. Those are the names that Patricio Pitbull is going to be taking on. Steve Garcia drops down to number 12, with Pitbull debuting at 11, and Garcia, I don't know. I think Steve Garcia versus Yusuf Zalal in the Apex, winner can move up, loser can go down. That's perfect. And for Giga Chikadze, who drops down to number 15, the fact you're even still in the rankings is a blessing. Let's make him fight a young, hungry up-and-comer. Bantamweight will be where we have the last bit of changes that we will talk about, as flyweight doesn't have anything, and the men's pound for pound has no changes whatsoever. So, Rob Font drops down to number 9, was currently tied with Mario Bautista at 8. That's a change. And Marcus McGee boots up to number 12 as Vinicius Oliveira is now ranked number 13. Kyle Phillips at 14, Montel Jackson at 15. So how are we going to matchmake all these people? So I think Rob Font versus Vinicius Oliveira match up just like that. Or you could even do Amin Zahabi versus Rob Font, but Vinicius Oliveira, give him a top 10 opponent. Rob Font and Marlon Vera are going to be taking on a combination of Amin Zahabi and Vinicius Oliveira. It's just a matter of who. Marcus McGee, we'll be talking about him versus Peter Yan on today's episode. Kyler Phillips at 14, definitely to an unranked contender. Definitely welcoming an unranked contender. We have Davey Grant and Damon Blackshear. If Damon Blackshear wins, let's do Kyler versus Damon. And Montel Jackson at 15, dude deserves a big opportunity, but just, I don't know what to do with him. I don't know what to do with Montel Jackson. I feel like him versus Henry Cejudo doesn't make much sense, but let's just run Montel Jackson versus Henry Cejudo just for the heck of it, because why not? We can do whatever we want. We're matchmaking on this card. That's what we do. But yes, those are all the new rankings updates, ladies and gentlemen. Lots of updates Lots of updates. Thank you so much, Dana White, always giving us these updates. I'm just kidding. He doesn't actually do the updates because he's always complaining about how they always do the updates so slow. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I say we dive right into our UFC Abu Dhabi predictions. We have 12 matchups, I believe, for you. No real cancellations or too many pullouts of any regard. We are ready to get right on into it. So, without further ado, let's dive into your official UFC Abu Dhabi predictions and preview, if you want to call it that. We kick the things off with the number 13th ranked heavyweight Martin Buday taking on the debuting Marcus Buchecha. Buchecha, one of the two. Martin Buday is 15-2. Marcus Buchecha, actually we're just calling him Booch. Marcus Booch is 5-1. 6'4", I don't know if I'm reading this wrong, guys. It says he's 5'4". I don't believe that for a second. I should probably cross-reference this, actually, that this guy is not actually 5'4" at a heavyweight. That cannot be right. The UFC stats page has to have messed that up. They have to have messed that up. I'm sorry. There's no way this guy is 5'4". Imagine if he is. No, it's just not humanly possible. I think they're both 6'4" guys. We're going to do some live Googling on the pod. But reach 77 inches to 72 in favor of Marcus, which makes sense, and an orthodox stance for both of these guys. I really hope it's an error. There's just no way Marcus Buchecha. How do I even spell Buchecha? UFC. There we go. Marcus Buchecha, UFC. And they aren't giving me much here, if I'm being honest. Let's check the Ultimate Fighting Championship official page. I gotta find his height on here somewhere, right? They have to list his height of some kind. They aren't listing any of his data. Height 76 inches. 76 inches. That is... What is 76 inches? What is 76 inches in feet? This is fun. We do live Googling here on the pod. You can listen to my internal thoughts coming out. And literally no one is helping me. Guys, I'm going to assume he's 6'4". There's no way that the guy... 6'4". Thank you so much. Thank you, internet. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, this man is a 6'4", apparently. UFC stats, fix your frickin' page. But let's kick it off with Marcus Buday, now ranked at number 13. He's the underdog, plus 225. Marcus is coming in minus 335. Big old favorite. Buday is 33 years old from Slovakia. 9 of his 15 wins have came by finish, 6 KOs and 3 subs. He was actually supposed to fight Kenny Nchukwu on April 15th. That's the last time, or April 5th, I think it was. He ended up taking on short notice Yuran Satibaldiv. But overall, not too bad in the UFC. He's sitting at 6-1, only losses to Shamil Gaziev. He's been kind of average. Been with the company since 2022. Buday, picked up a win in April. Good for him. Hasn't gotten a finish since August of 2023. He's just left a little to be desired. If I'm being honest, he kind of just does distance striking. Almost lost to Lucas Brzeziak in 2022. Went the distance against Jake Collier. I don't really know what to do with this guy. His opponent, though, Marcus, 5-1, 35 years old, from Brazil, now lives in California, coming off of a win. Last time out of his 5 finishes, 1 KO, 4 subs, and his entire record is 5-1, so he loves to get it done. And this man is 39-9 in grappling matches. He is a BJJ master. That's the name of the game. And we love new heavyweights. We love breaking them in. And unlike past ones, I think Marcus can actually break it. If he can't, we're all doomed. If Martin Buday is stopping yet another guy from breaking into the rankings, I'm going to be pissed. But I got Marcus with the round 1 sub. I don't know what version we're going to get of this guy. He is 35 debuting. I've seen no footage of him, but I saw a picture of him when I was doing my stuff, and on Tapeology, he looks kind of cool. So Marcus Buchecha with a round 1 submission, or even we're going to go armbar. How about a little armbar on Martin Buday? But if Martin Buday wins, he'll be on a 3-fight win streak, can be ranked probably number 12. So if Marcus wins, he'll be looking up, and if Martin wins, he'll be looking maybe even a higher bit up. But yes, that is our lone heavyweight fight on the card. After that, we get our lone featherweight matchup on the card as Mohammed, the UAE Warrior Yaha, takes on Steven the Ninja Huynh. Mohammed 12-5, Steven 9-2, 5'11" 5'9", 2 inches in height for Steven. Both men have a 73-inch reach, and both men have a switch stance. Very interesting. Steven, almost a minus 400 favorite. I did take these odds from a betting site on Monday, so just not really too accurate, but just to know Steven's the favorite and Muhammad is the underdog, and it's leaning pretty heavily in Steven's favor. We'll start with Muhammad here, who is 31 years old, of course, from the United Arab Emirates, if you didn't get from his nickname. And of his 12 wins, he has 9 finishes, 7 KOs, and 2 subs. Out of his 5 defeats, he has been finished in 4 of them. 2 by knockout, 2 by sub. Last time he fought, August of 2024, Kyle Fernandez actually knocked him out in round number 1. In his debut in October of 2023, Trevor Peek beat him in a very highly contested matchup. Look, Muhammad, just abilities just haven't translated. From being 12-3, dominating the UAE fighting league, he was doing great. But after getting to the UFC, running into Trevor Peek and Kyle Fernandez, just hasn't been doing much. And by the way, Kyle Fernandez is legit, wins over him and Guram Kuladze, but losing to Trevor Peek did not age very well, as Trevor Peek would not win a single matchup after losing to him. So good stuff for Stephen Wynn here, as he will be taking on a guy who's not coming in with a lot of momentum. As for Stephen, I'd say Stephen has a tiny bit of momentum coming in. The 32-year-old, born in Kansas, now training out of Fortis MMA in Texas, has 4 KOs and 3 subs out of his 9 wins. And of his 9 wins, 5 of them have came in round number 1. He actually fought on season 3 of Dana White's Contender Series before getting knocked out in round number 3. He would then come back in season 5 and beat Theo Ringyang, but was not impressive at all. He would then become one of the few rare fighters to fight on Dana White's Contender Series 3 times, knocking out AJ Cunningham in round 2 back in 2023. He had one lone fight in March of 2024, which was a fight of the night at the Apex against Jarno Aarons. Look, I think Stephen Wynn has improved greatly since losing to Aylin Cruz back in the day. And as for the Jarno Aarons fight, that was an absolute war. Could have gone either man's way. Just came down to Jarno Aarons landing more strikes and a knockdown in the final round. So we're going to go with Stephen Wynn to get a decision victory here. But if there was ever a fight that Muhammad was going to win, it has to be here. But I've just seen little to be loved from him so far in his UFC run. Next up, light heavyweight action as my pick for who's going to have the best rise of the light heavyweight division this year. Ibo, the last Ottoman Aslan, is back to take on Billy, a son of Susie Elikana. Son of Susie gives me kind of serial killer vibes. I don't know. I don't really like that. Ibo is 14-2. Billy is 7-2. Both men are 6'3". Both men have a 77-inch reach. Ibo with the orthodox stance. Elikana with the southpaw. Interesting. Ibo, around a minus 300 favorite. Billy around a plus 200 underdog. Yeah, Ibo Aslan, I was really high on coming into 2025. 29 years old from Turkey. All of his wins coming by knockout. And little did we know, he did not have that good of a ground game. Really not. When you're knocking out randoms like Anton Turkaljic and Rafael Cerqueira, everything is good. But then you run into Ion Kudalaba, who takes you down twice and submits you not even 3 minutes into round number 1. Yeah, that was embarrassing. That was embarrassing, Ibo Aslan. I can't even lie to you, bro. That was rough. But I think if he can work on that, if he can get around that, he should find some success. Now, unfortunately for Ibo, he is going to be taking on a guy who is all about the takedowns. That's right, Billy Elikana, 30 years old from Las Vegas. Out of those 7 wins, 3 KOs and 1 sub. And when he last fought against Bogdan Guskov, he took him down right away and had an impressive almost 4 minutes control time in round number 1. Now, did he end up losing control at the end of the round, almost getting submitted? Yes. Did he then get submitted in round number 2? Yes, but, he showed some signs of being good. We'll say that, but we're going to keep our predictions rolling. Ibo Aslan, round 1 knockout. I'm going to say Billy shoots for a takedown. Ibo can actually defend it, and he can get it done. But if we're going to see any success here, Ibo on the feet, Billy on the ground. That's where you're going to see that, but I am going to ride with Ibo Aslan. I'm going to say there's still power in those hands, and your only professional defeat in the UFC being to Ion Kudalaba isn't too bad in hindsight. But, yeah, a good bounce-back win for Ibo Aslan would be much appreciated, we'll say. Next up, women's strawweight action as Amanda Hebus and Tabitha Ritchie will be going at it. The number 7 and 10 women in the division. The number 7th ranked Amanda Hebus is 13-6. Baby Shark at number 10. Tabitha Ritchie 11-3. 5'4" to 5'1", 3 inches in height for Hebus and a notable 5 inches in reach. 66-61. 3 inches in height for Amanda Hebus. Orthodox stands for both of these ladies. Amanda Hebus minus 185, Tabitha plus 130. Odds are a bit closer compared to the previous fights we've been talking about. Hebus is 31 years old from Brazil and has 7 finishes out of her 13 professional wins. Got 3 KOs and 4 subs, and over 6 defeats. She has been finished 4 times, 3 of them by knockout. She was submitted for the first time back in her main event in January. These two are actually supposed to fight July 19th, but for some reason, they had to reschedule it. Amanda Hebus been with the UFC since 2019 and, started off her run fairly hot. I mean, there was at one point in time, she was 10-1. And, 4-0 in the company, then gets knocked out by Mariana Rodriguez. Then, picks up a win, then loses a fight of the night. Then picks up a win, then gets knocked out by Macy Barber. Then picks up a win, and is now on a 2-fight losing streak. So, yes, she is 3-5 in her last 8, 1-3 in her last 4, coming off of main event losses to Rose Namajunas and most recently Mackenzie Dern in January. Yeah, she's all right. She's not exciting. I'll say that, sadly. I mean, okay, I will say the Luian Pinheiro fight wasn't awful, but, overall, I just never really gets me going over watching Amanda Hebus fight. I do think she's a great opportunity to win here, but I do like Tabitha Ricci as an underdog. Baby Shark is 30 years old from Brazil, but now trains out of California. Of her 11 wins, she has 1 KO and 3 subs. She's coming off a loss to Yan Xiaonan in China back in November, and, 2024 was going well for her. Had wins over Tisha Penton and Angela Hill, but unfortunately, Yan Xiaonan humbled her. Only defeats also in the UFC are to Lupe Godinez and Manny Fiora. Holds wins over Jillian Robertson, Jessica Penne, and Poliana Viana. She's not too bad. This is very 50-50, if I'm being honest, and when it comes to these 50-50 contests, it's really tough to know what you're going to get. I mean, this could go either way. Nothing will surprise me here. There will be no shockers for this contest. I can see either woman winning. I can see them winning by knockout, most likely by decision. I can even see some subs in there. But Tabitha, sitting with a 5-3 UFC record, she is on the more of a come-up, but that Yan Xiaonan win just didn't really leave me with much. So I am going to, I don't know if I want to pick Amanda Hebus, to be honest. I would rather pick Tabitha Ricci. I feel like she's been doing better, but we do have a bit of size for Hebus. So it's tricky, guys. I will say that Amanda Hebus has taken on tougher competition. Macy Barber, Rose Namajunas, and Mackenzie Dern. So we were actually going to go with Amanda Hebus in this contest, but I don't really expect much from any of the ladies, if I'm being honest. I do like Tabitha Ricci here, but we're going to ride with Amanda Hebus. Next up, Davy Grant and Damon Blackshear. One of my favorite matchups. I'm so excited for this one. Dangerous Davy Grant and the monster Damon Blackshear. Davy 16-7, Damon 17-7 with a draw. 5'10" to 5'8", 2 inches in height for Damon and 3 inches in reach. 72-69. Switch stance for Blackshear. Orthodox for Davy Grant. Davy Grant the plus 220 underdog. Damon the minus 330 favorite. Davy Grant fighting for the first time since December. The 39-year-old is from England but now trains out of Las Vegas and has 11 finishes of his 16 wins, 4 KOs and 7 subs. Of his 7 defeats, he has been submitted 4 times. He was actually supposed to fight Daniel Santos on April 5th, but Daniel and him just never worked out. I don't know if he pulled out or something, so he hasn't fought since December. And Davy Grant's been with the UFC since 2013 and kind of just, lost his debut, would then go away for 3 years, came back 2016 to 2019, had a little stint, kind of went 2-2, didn't amount to much, actually did win against Marlon Vera, oddly, and then 2020 comes around, starts getting some big knockout wins, eventually has a fight of the night against Marlon Vera and a fight of the night against Adrian Yanez, could have gone either way. 2022 comes around, knocks out Louis Smolka, then is able to submit Rafael Sunsao with an inverted triangle, then loses a split decision to Daniel Marcos, and then recently humbled Ramon Taveras. Davy Grant is just the old guy that whoops all the young boys. I mean, this guy is absolutely such a savage. Always a treat to watch him compete. I'll tell you who else is a treat to watch compete, if that rhymes. Damon Blackshear, 30 years old from North Carolina. 13 of his 17 wins are by finish, and he has 2 knockouts and 11 subs. He is sitting at 5-3 with a draw in the UFC, but this dude has taken Yusuf Zalal to a draw, all right, who he fought on short notice, then lost to Farid Basharat, then 2 straight wins in a row, including a twister, would then lose to Mario Batista, then Montel Jackson in July of 2024, but then November 2024, submits Cody Stamann. March comes back, submits Cody Gibson, most recently fought in April, and beat Alatenge. So Damon coming in some momentum here. I have liked what I've seen from him so far, and I do believe that the knockout loss to Montel Jackson should not limit him at all. Okay, it should not limit him, or should it hold him back on anything that he will achieve. So we are going to pick Damon Blackshear to get this one done. And we've reached that point in the podcast where I realized I am starting to pick every single favorite, which didn't work out on UFC 318. I'm starting to regret that Amanda Hebes Tabitha Ritchie pick, but we already made it. We can't turn back. I guess I could turn back, but I'm not going to. Next up, I don't know if it's going to be our final prelim. I think it's our second to last, but welterweight action as the King of Kung Fu, Muslim Slikov, is back to take on the Lion, Carlos Leal. Muslim is 21-5. Carlos is 22-6. 5'11" for both of these men, 4 inches in reach. For Carlos Leal is the one advantage I see, 74-70, and an orthodox stance for both of our gentlemen. Tale of two stories here. Muslim coming in 41 years old. Carlos Leal, 31 years old. I mean, wow. Carlos Leal, massive favorite, getting it up into the minus 500 ranges, and Muslim is now in the plus 300 range. So, big underdog for Muslim Slikov here. Muslim is 41 years old from Russia and has 16 of his 21 wins by finish, 13 KOs and 3 subs. Of his 5 defeats, he's been finished 4 times, split both ways, submissions and knockouts. Muslim, been in the UFC since 2017. He's had some fun fights, I'd say, all around. Wins over Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, Andre Filo, currently on a 2-fight win streak with win over Santiago Ponzinibbio, and a round 1 head kick of Song Kinong. Dude's exciting. Now, he's also been finished by Li Jingliang, finished by Randy Brown. I mean, Muslim Slikov is just 41. You gotta remember that. So, I don't know how he's going to come into this one, ready or not, but overall, Muslim Slikov always appears to be game, no matter his age. His opponent, though, is coming in with something to prove. Carlos Leal, 31 years old from Brazil, 11 knockouts and 2 subs make up his 22 career victories. And of his 6 defeats, he has only ever been submitted once. And by the way, the only man to ever beat him besides Rinat Fakhretdinov in the UFC is Savage So in the last, I don't even know, decade. But yes, Carlo Leal debuted in October, lost to Rinat Fakhretdinov in a very close contest, came back in March of this year and had a round 1 knockout of Alex Morono. Absolutely teed off on him. Carlos Leal, of course, a Bellator PFL guy. I expect big things of him. I really do. I think Carlos is coming over, ready to destroy, ready to take over, and this is where he has another big moment. I'm going Carlos Leal round 1 knockout. All right, Carlos Leal, round 1 knockout. Take it to the bank. Let's do it. Give me Carlos Leal all day. And even though he is kind of a big favorite, and we're picking all the big favorites, it's hard not to like me a little Carlos Leal after his performance against Alex Morono. But, yeah, that is either going to be the final prelim, which I think they're going to do a 5-fight main card, since it's on ABC, which means this will be the final prelim heading to the men's bantamweight division as Bryce Thug Nasty Mitchell makes his bantamweight debut against Saeed Nurmagomedov. And Bryce Thug 17-4, Saeed 18-4, 5'8" to 5'10", 2 inches in height for Bryce, 70-inch reach for both men, southpaw stance for Bryce, orthodox for Saeed. These two are so closely matchmaked. I mean, this is the closest odds on the card, minus 130, minus 110, keeps flip-flopping. I don't know how Bryce is going to do a bantamweight. I really don't. It's a tough debut for him in Saeed Nurmagomedov. But Bryce, 30 years old from Arkansas, has 10 of his 17 wins by finish, 1 KO and 9 subs. And all of his losses, he has been finished in. He's been submitted by Itopira, knocked out by Josh Emmett, and most recently, almost knocked out and definitely submitted with a guillotine choke in round number 2 by Gene Silva. So yeah, Bryce Mitchell has kind of had a tough go. In the last 5 fights, he's gotten 2 wins, suffered 3 defeats. But, he's good. He's good. Let's not act like it. He had the second twister ever in UFC history. He had a fight of the night, and there was only 26 total significant strikes landed. Don't know how that's possible. Wins over Andre Fili, Edson Barbosa, Dan Ige. He even got Kron Gracie kicked out of the UFC. That's how badly he beat him. Bryce Mitchell, don't sleep on him. He is very good. I mean, when we look at his defeats, Ito Piro, Josh Emmett, James Silva, we can kind of give him a pass. But the one thing we can't give him a pass on is an easy opponent for his bantamweight debut as he takes on Saeed Nurmagomedov. Guskov, 33 years old from Russia. 10 of his 18 wins are by finish, 4 KOs and 6 subs, and he has never been finished in his 4 defeats. He actually had 3 canceled bouts in 2024, which is why his last fight before his one in February was in October of 2023. He did have a fight at UFC Saudi Arabia where he was able to lose to Vincius Oliveira in a fight of the night, but it was so close, and he really brought out the best in Vincius Oliveira. And after watching Vincius against Kyler Phillips, I think this shows more just how dang good Said Nurmagomedov is. I personally don't think he has lost any of the decisions he's lost. The Raoni Barcelos fight, I thought he won. The Jonathan Martinez fight, I thought he won. And the Vincius Oliveira fight won. Even though I picked Vincius, I had Said Nurmagomedov winning. So, Said, when he does fight, I mean, this dude has had multiple round 1 guillotine chokes, loves that, multiple round 1 knockouts. He is action-packed. And if anything, I think it's just going to be a matter of if he can defend the takedowns. I think that's going to be what really is the deciding factor here. And Said will occasionally shoot for the takedowns, but I think he's going to take a more standing approach here. And I can kind of see 2 things. I can see Bryce taking him down, 3 rounds dominating him, or I can see Said Nurmagomedov catching Bryce Mitchell in a guillotine. And if I'm being honest, I think I see the guillotine more than I see Bryce getting takedowns. Said has looked very good through his first few fights. And, despite this being year 7 for him, he still feels kind of new. He still feels like he's on the come up. And with a win over Bryce Mitchell, he could start calling for ranked opportunities. So we are going to ride with Said Nurmagomedov. He's from Russia. He's kind of got the hometown base. We're going to go with Said Nurmagomedov to beat Bryce Mitchell. But I'll tell you, these fights are really close, and I'm not 100% sold on Said. So if Bryce does end up being a, underdog, definitely throw some money on him. Getting right on into our main card now, light heavyweight division. This is a jam-packed main card. Like, this is a pay-per-view level main card if we have a title fight in the main event. This is just fantastic. Light heavyweight division, Bogdan Guskov at number 13, taking on number 10 ranked Nikita Krylov. And I've been waiting a while for these two to get after. I know Bogdan had fights linked with Johnny Walker, and Nikita Krylov definitely should be making a quick turnaround, but just, happy to see these two in action. The minor, Nikita Krylov, 30-10. Bogdan Cesarovich Guskov, 17-3. Both men are 6'3", 77-inch reach to 76-inch reach, 1 inch for Nikita, and an orthodox stance for both of our gentlemen. Odds are pretty close. Guskov is the underdog. Thankfully, Nikita Krylov is the favorite. Let's start with Nikita, 33 years old from Ukraine. Actually went on hiatus of fighting, which I'm pretty sure he was fighting on the front lines of the Ukraine-Russia war. I don't know for certain, but 28 of his 30 wins have came by finish, 12 KOs and 16 subs. Of his 10 defeats, he's been finished in 8 of them, 6 of those times by submission. Nikita returned from his 2-year hiatus to take on Dominic Reyes in April and was knocked out in 2.5 minutes. So, yeah, he kind of got ahead of himself. It looked like the Jose Aldo Conor McGregor knockout. Nikita just rushed in. Dominic slips, hits him with the right, and he was out cold. But Nikita, we've known about him for a while. Been with the UFC since 2013. He actually holds wins over Walt Harris, Marco Sergio de Lima, Ed Herman, Ovince St. Preux, Johnny Walker, Alexander Gusau, Volkan Ozdemir, and the last win he had March of 2023, a round 1 triangle choke of Ryan Spann. Other names he has fought in: Glover Teixeira to a split decision, Magomedov Ankalaev to a decision, Paul Craig, also Misha Serkinov, Jan Blachowicz, Ovince St. Preux. This dude has fought a lot of tough people. Nikita looking to get back into the win column. This is a quick turnaround, especially against the knockout artist himself in Bogdan Guskov. Bogdan is 32 years old from Uzbekistan, but now fights out of Russia. 17 wins, 17 victories, 14 knockouts, and 3 subs. Of his 3 defeats, he's been finished twice, once by sub, once by knockout. Debuted in September of 2023, and Volkan Ozdemir submitted him. Yeah, it was clearly too green. Clearly the short nose fight didn't work, didn't go well. Then debuts in February of 2024 again, or bounces back, I should say, not debuts. Knocks out Zach Pauga in round 1. Then knocks out Ryan Spann in round 2. Last fight out, January 2025, was supposed to fight Johnny Walker. Instead fights Billy Elikata, who we just talked about. Survives a round 1 to then submit him in round number 2. Bogdan Guskov coming in with tons of momentum, looks and appears to be ready. This is a massive step up in competition for him, but I do think he can pass it. I'm going with Bogdan Guskov round 1 knockout. I think Nikita returning too soon. I think knockout power is going to touch his chin, a little 1-2 down the pipe, and Bogdan Gaskov will pick up another victory. I am looking forward to that matchup. Next up, ranked flyweight action. We got Asu Almabayev back in the pocket. Number 9 ranked Asu Almabayev was supposed to be taking on the number 13th ranked Ramazan Temuriyov. Unfortunately, Ramazan pulled off, so Zulfikar will be taking on Jose Calzifar Ochoa. What are these nicknames? Asu Zulfikar Almabayev and Jose Calzifar Ochoa. Kind of crazy. Asu Almabayev is 21-3. Jose is 8-1 with a no contest. 3 inches in height for Jose, 5'7" to 5'4". Also 2 inches in reach, 65-67. Southpaw for Jose, orthodox for Asu Almabayev. -125 for Asu, -110 for Jose Ochoa. Number 9 ranked Asu Almabayev is from Kazakhstan and has 12 finishes, 3 KOs, and 9 subs of his 21 professional wins. Of his 3 defeats, he's been finished in 2 of them. Currently sitting with a 4-1 UFC record. He picked up wins over Ode Osborne, CJ Vergara, Jose Johnson, and Matthias Nikalu to start his UFC career. Finally had a short notice main event against Manel Cape in March when he was knocked out in round 3. Now, people are calling that a early stoppage, but he was literally running away from Manel Cape. I mean, I kid you not, Asu Almabayev was on the sprint trying to get away from Manel Cape, but he's back looking to get in the win column. He's a grappler at heart. Through his first 4 UFC fights, he boasted an impressive 18 takedowns, and he was only taken down once. So, good stuff for Asu Almabayev so far in his UFC career. Let's not hold him against him that his 1 loss is to Manel Cape. His opponent, Jose Ochoa, 24 years old from Peru, 8 victories, 8 knockouts, 7 KOs, and 1 sub. He had a very tough round 1 against Cody Durden in June before, actually knocking him out 11 seconds in the round 2, earning himself a performance of the night. That was at UFC Atlanta, and Jose, that was a nasty knockout. Literally, Cohen was like, let's get it on. They dap up. Jose does a little combo, and Durden is out like a leg. I think it was an uppercut, honestly. His 1 defeat was in his debut in China against Loner Kavanagh. Very close contest. And Jose, I think, is going to go far. I think he's kind of in this Azat Maksum range where he is just going to run to yet another tough up-and-comer, if you will, on Asu Almabayev. I think Asu is going to grapple him to death. And unlike Cody Durden, I think Asu could even get a submission here in round 1 or 2. So I got Asu Almabayev beating Jose Ochoa, but don't sleep on that knockout power. Jose could pull off yet another upset. Now we get into the big 3 matchups, I'm going to call them, but overall this card is simply fantastic. Starts at 11 a.m. Minnesota time, Central Time. For the prelims, main card 2 p.m. Super pumped for that. First up for our big 3 middleweight action, he is back. The Bullet, Shara Magomedov, back from his little hiatus since February to take on Powerbar MAB Marc-Andre Barriault. Shara is 15-1, Marc-Andre Barriault 17-9 with a no contest. 6'2" to 6'1", 1 inch in height for Shara, and 1 inch in reach for Mark, 74-73. Orthodox stance for both of our fighters. Shara, massive favorite. You already knew he was going to be. I mean, I saw he was at -900 last time I checked. Marc-Andre Barriault was approaching plus 500. So, Shara coming into this one, massive favorite. He is from Moscow. He has 12 knockouts of his 15 wins. Yeah, Shara is a killer. Started out his UFC career 4-0 with a fight of the night against Michael Okajacek and knockouts of Armin Petrosian and Antonio Tricoli. In February, fought MVP and just couldn't figure it out. I think it was like MVP and Shara have such odd striking kickboxing styles, and Shara never once tried to mix in the takedowns. MVP just kind of distantly outstruck him and wrapped up a 30-27, 30-27, 29-28 unanimous decision. I mean, it was legit. Outstrikes him by 4 in round 1, outstrikes him by 7 in round 2, is then outstruck in round 3 by 6. It didn't even matter. And look at that, MVP is now fighting Jared Cannonier, the weird way the world works. But Shara overall, when he takes on, non-strikers, does appear to have some success. And we'll see how he does against Marc-Andre Barriault. Marc-Andre is 35 years old from Quebec, Canada, but now fights out of Florida. 11 KOs and 1 sub make up his 17 professional victories. And of his 9 defeats, he's only ever been KO'd 3 times and submitted once. So, not too shabby. I will say, of those KO losses, they have been in his last 2 knockouts against Dustin Stolfus and Joe Pyfer, but we won't hold against him too much. His last win was in May. He knocked out Bruno Silva in 86, 86 seconds? I want to say 87 seconds. He knocked out Bruno Silva. Impressive stuff from Bari Ud. Before that, his last winning came in June of 2023. Been fighting since 2019, and while he doesn't have the best UFC record, I mean, I'm pretty sure he's sitting with a 6-8 with a no contest in the UFC. He always seems to kind of bring a bit of intensity. And, tough opponents all around. Chidi Njoku, Anthony Hernandez, Eric Anders, Chris Curtis, Junior Park, Christoph Jocko. He's fought in a lot of tough, unranked middleweights. This is a big opportunity for him against Shara Magomedov. And certainly whoever wins this is going to be looking upwards at a ranked opportunity. I can almost guarantee it. If Shara Magomedov wins, they're going to get him in there with Roman Kopilov, Abus Magomedov, dare I even say Marvin Vettori, trying to get him back in the win column. So I'm going with Shara Magomedov. Big fan of the bullet. We're not going to completely give up on him yet after one loss to MVP. We ride with him, and I thought that I accidentally highlighted MAB for a second, but I didn't. I correctly highlighted Shara Magomedov. That always happens to us when we accidentally highlight the wrong person, and last time it ended up being we actually highlighted Michael Johnson, and we should have wrote him. But the last time before, we had accidentally highlighted Max Green. Glad I didn't change as Chris Curtis got the win. So no mess up so far with 2 fights to go. Our co-main event, it is so random. So random, and I absolutely love it. The number 12 ranked now, Marcus McGee takes on the number 3 ranked Petr Yan in the men's bantamweight division. Petr No Mercy Yan coming in minus 455. Marcus the Maniac McGee plus 290. Petr Yan 18-5. Marcus McGee 10-1. 5'8" to 5'7" inch in height for Marcus, and 2 inches in reach as well. 69-67 orthodox for Marcus. Switch stance, of course, for Petr No Mercy Yan. It's crazy to think that Petr Yan is already 32. It wasn't too long ago, at 27 years old, he was winning the Bantamweight Championship against Jose Aldo. He then had his 3-fight saga, if you will, or 2-fight saga with Aljamain Sterling. Was supposed to be 3 fights, but instead he ended up fighting Corey Sandhagen in there, running into a terrible split decision loss against Sean O'Malley. The alteration of just careers with that was insane. His last defeat in March of 2023 was, of course, to Merab Dvalishvili. But since then, beat Song Yadong in March of 2024 and beat Devin Figueiredo in November of 2024, both in dominant style. Petr Yan's been a killer since he came in 2018. I mean, his knockouts of Teruto Ishira and Uriah Faber are absolutely awesome. Fight of the Nights with Sandhagen, Jim Soon-Young, and Sean O'Malley are just amazing. And his leg kicks against John Dodson, Jimmy Rivera, just nasty. Petr, he is 32 years old, from Russia, 7 KOs and 1 sub, so not too many finishes of his big 18-wins career, but he has never been finished in all 5 of his defeats. And of course, we can acknowledge that of his 4 UFC fights, 1 was a DQ, 2 were split decisions where the verdict scorecard had him winning, and the other one was to Merab Dvalishvili, who, by the way, he took down Merab. Think about that. He took down Merab and did land 75 stiff strikes against him, so he still had a bit more punch to pack than some people do against Merab. Petr Yan, happy to see you back. Always been a fan of him, and should be a layup, but don't sleep too much on the Maniac, Marcus McGee. 35 years old, from Detroit, but now fights out of Phoenix, Arizona. Actually fights out of the same gym as Cannonier and I think Sean and Henry Cejudo, MMA Lab, out there in Phoenix. He is on a nice little win streak here, 6 straight fights, and he has 9 of his 10 wins coming by finish. 8 KOs and 1 sub. His one defeat was a submission a long time ago. Debuted in 2023 with a round 2 rear naked choke. His knockout of JP Buys and Gaston Bolanos both put him on the map. And then in November 2024, he beat Jonathan Martinez to break into the bottom of the rankings. He looked pretty good in that. All right, did kind of fade at the end, but not too badly. He really had Jonathan Martinez on the ropes the entire time. Absolutely like Marcus McGee when he's fighting unranked guys, but it's Petr Yan. It's Petr Yan. Let's not act like Marcus McGee is going from Gaston Bolanos and Jonathan Martinez to Petr Yan, and Petr Yan is going from Song Yadong, Devin Figueiredo to Marcus McGee. Okay, I think Marcus is going to prove as a fun challenger, though, but I do have a round 3 knockout for Petr Yan. I think this is a perfect opportunity for Petr to come in, get a knockout finish, but I think win or lose, if, I think no matter what facet he wins, he'll get a title shot. But if he loses, Marcus McGee, Merab Dvalishvili, book it tomorrow. That is the fight I want to see, because if McGee can pull it off, it's going to be the biggest upset of the weekend. I don't care about those minus 900 odds for Shara, those minus almost 400 for Stephen Wynn. The biggest upset of the weekend will be if Marcus McGee beats Petr Yan. I don't see it happening, I can always hope for. I always love seeing upsets even when I fail to predict them. It's just fun to see. But I am going to go with Piotr No Mercy Yan. With that, we get into our main event, ladies and gentlemen, and we head to the men's middleweight division as the number 5 ranked middleweight, the former men's middleweight champion, the Reaper, Robert Whittaker, takes on the man, RDR, Rainer de Ridder from the Netherlands. That's right, he's coming in at number 13 now. Wow, a 5 versus 13, a 3 versus 12. We got some big odd gaps here in our co-main and main event in terms of rankings. Robert Whittaker, minus 165, RDR plus 120, very close odds. The Reaper, 27-8, RDR 20-2, 6'4" to 6 foot, 4 inches in height for Rainer de Ridder, and has 5 inches in reach, 78 to 73. Southpaw for Rainer, orthodox for Robert Whittaker. Both men, 34 years old. The Reaper is from Australia, and out of his 27 wins, has 15 finishes, 10 KOs, and 5 subs. Of his 8 defeats, he's been finished 5 times, and of those 5, he's only ever been submitted twice. Oddly enough, the last time he fought, he was submitted. Robert Whittaker, been in the UFC since 2012. Dude's been a legend. Fought at welterweight to start his career, then moved up to middleweight, went on the insane run, wins over Brad Tavares, Uriah Hall, Derek Brunson, Jacare Souza, the Yael Romero fights, Isla Adesanya, Darren Till, Jared Cannonier, Kelvin Gastelum, Marvin Vettori, Driscus Duplessis, Paul Costa, Ekram said that this dude has never had an easy fight in his entire career. Last time he fought was in October, and Hamzat Chimaev submitted him in 3.5 minutes. But before that, he had knocked out Ikram Alcacerov in June in under 2. So pretty impressive. Whittaker doesn't really know what he's fighting for. He's not really near a title shot, but certainly a win here against RDR could restart that, if you will. I don't really know. Whittaker, always exciting. He's such a good person, and this should be a winnable fight for him, but I do think it's going to prove some challenges similar to the stuff that he faced against Hamzat Chimaev when he takes on RDR Rainer de Ridder. Rainer, also 34, from the Netherlands, of course, on a 4-fight winning streak, has 18 of his 20 wins coming by finish, 4 KOs, and a whopping 14 subs. Both of his losses came in knockouts to Anatoly Malatanchkin, who was a 1 championship fighter. Of course, that's where RDR came from. Debuted in November of 2024, already main eventing against Robert Whittaker. That's crazy. Submitted Gerald Meerschaert in a fun fight, then debuted in 2025, or his first fight in 2025, I should say, was a 3.5-minute submission of Kevin Holland. Following that, he would become the first man to beat Bo Nickel in Des Moines in May, actually knocking him out with a knee. Rainer de Ridder has kind of came in and gotten some layups here with Gerald Meerschaert, Kevin Holland, and Bo Nickel, and all signs really point towards a Robert Whittaker win here. Striking-wise, I think that Whittaker has a nasty advantage, but we saw Robert kind of struggle against Hamzat Chimaev in the grappling realm, and that's going to be all Rainer de Ridder is about. I really love breaking new guys into the top of the division, so that's why I'm riding with Rainer de Ridder. Plus, it's fun to pick against Robert Whittaker, because Robert Whittaker has that one-punch power, so you're always waiting for him to just rock your guy, but I could see Rainer closing the gap, managing to lock on a submission of some regard, but if he stands at distance, he's going to get chopped out with leg kicks, beat up by Robert Whittaker. I say the one thing I don't see this doing, going the distance. I think we're going to get a good amount of finishes on this UFC Abu Dhabi card, which at times can be a rarity. So, my prediction, RDR, and we're going round 2 sub. Round 2 sub, I think that you're just going to see Whittaker maybe get caught here, and by the way, Rainer has power. Let's not act like he didn't knock out Bo Nickel pretty freaking easily. So, final predictions, Rainer de Ridder, Petr Yan, Shar Magomedov, Asul Mabayev, Bogdan Guskov, Saider Magomedov, Carlos Leal, Damon Blackshear, Manda Hebus, Ibo Aslan, Stephen Wynn, and Marcus Buchechka. The only real change I made, if I'm being honest, was Amanda Hebus, and that's just because I never know what these women fights. I never absolutely know. But yes, those are our UFC Abu Dhabi official predictions. A lot of UFC on today's episode, but once we're back, we'll have much more exciting stuff to talk about. I wonder if I should do another ranking of some regard. I should probably get on the rankings. I have this massive paper I need to go write, though, to wrap up my final class ever for college. Unless I go back and get my master's, who knows? But we'll stop rambling. We'll get right on to it. Sending you on your week. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hit me up. Let me know who you guys are riding with for UFC Abu Dhabi, and we'll be back to recap this entire freaking card. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll catch you next time on the Surprise Jab Podcast.